that's Eleanor Roosevelt. Dear Tim and Moby, can you tell me about Eleanor Roosevelt? From Taran. Sure. Anna Eleanor Roosevelt was a respected activist and author, as well as the First Lady of the United States from 1933 to 1945. She was born in 1884 to a wealthy family right here in New York City. Young Eleanor had a pretty sad childhood, though. She was very shy, and she worried about being plain and not fitting in with high society. To make matters worse, her life took a terrible turn when her mother, father, and one of her brothers all died within a 3-year span. Roosevelt was devastated. She had become an orphan at age 10. Well, she went to live with her grandmother, who eventually sent her to an all-girls school near London, England. It was there that Roosevelt first started feeling comfortable in her own skin. She made lots of friends, and her teachers encouraged her to ask questions and voice her opinions, and she had many. For one thing, Roosevelt thought that it was unfair that some people should have so much while others had so little. So when she returned to New York, she became a social worker and taught classes to poor children. Around that time, she also started hanging out with her distant cousin, Franklin. The two fell in love and were married in 1905. Yep, it's true. Eleanor's uncle was none other than Theodore Roosevelt, the sitting president of the United States. Since her father had died, Eleanor's Uncle Teddy gave the bride away. Afterward, she concentrated on raising a family, while Franklin worked. But when Franklin was given a job by President Woodrow Wilson in 1913, the Roosevelt family moved to Washington, D.C. Despite her shyness, Eleanor tried to fit in with the other politicians' wives. And one day, while unpacking Franklin's suitcase, she discovered some love letters to him from one of her friends. Eleanor felt hurt and betrayed. Well, the Roosevelts decided to stay married, but after that, Eleanor became much more independent of Franklin. She started to get involved with organizations like the League of Women Voters, which helped women exercise their new right to vote. And she continued to campaign for American workers, fighting for higher wages, a shorter work week, and protections against child labor. These activities made her one of the most recognized political figures in New York State and helped her husband get elected governor in 1928. That's right, Franklin contracted a disease that left him unable to walk, so Eleanor often acted as his eyes and ears. And when her husband was nominated for president in 1932, Eleanor assisted him on the campaign trail. The country was in the middle of the Great Depression, an economic downturn that impoverished many Americans. With the country desperate for a new direction, Franklin easily defeated sitting President Herbert Hoover. Actually, Eleanor wasn't sure what her role would be. In the past, First Ladies had pretty much stuck to entertaining guests of the president, but Roosevelt wanted to use her position to help Americans in need. She wrote a daily newspaper column and magazine articles on topics like poverty, education, and the changing roles of women in society. And she traveled around the country on behalf of the president to see how people were faring. It broke her heart to see so many citizens living in poverty and working in unsafe conditions. So, as much as possible, she personally helped get the people she met access to jobs, homes, health care, and education. It's true, some people didn't appreciate a First Lady getting so involved with the country's business, but Roosevelt just kept helping as many people as she could. After the United States became involved in World War II, she traveled to the South Pacific to visit wounded soldiers. She won a lot of admiration for her ability to lift the spirits of just about anyone she met during her husband's 4 terms as president. Then, in April 1945, just before the war's end, Franklin Roosevelt had a stroke and died. As Eleanor considered what to do next, the new president, Harry Truman, asked her to help in the formation of the United Nations, an international peacekeeping organization. So she traveled around the globe, trying to gather support for the UN and speaking on issues of health and safety for all people. She kept busy, all right. Roosevelt continued to work well into her 70s, speaking, writing, and even hosting a TV show. She died in 1962 at the age of 78. I know, she was about as inspirational as they get. Shall we?